Hola a todos, bienvenidos al primer evento académico internacional entre la Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero y la Universidad de Roma III. Mi nombre es Felipe Ignacio Astudillo Mota, soy un estudiante del doctorado en Derecho en esta universidad y es un placer servir como moderador en esta conferencia titulada Ética de la inteligencia artificial agentiva. Permítanme comenzar con un saludo fraterno para todos los presentes, especialmente a las autoridades que nos acompañan y, por supuesto, a nuestro moderador, quien amablemente ha aceptado nuestra invitación para participar en nuestra universidad. Y me voy a permitir ahora presentar a los distinguidos invitados que nos acompañan en este evento. En primer lugar, presento a la doctora María Xóchitl Astudillo Mier, quien es la secretaria general de la Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero, quien nos acompaña en representación del rector, el doctor Javier Saldaña Almazán. En segundo lugar, me permito presentar al profesor Mario De Caro, quien nos está acompañando virtualmente desde la Universidad Roma III. Enseguida, al doctor José Betancourt Villa, quien es director de Cooperación Internacional y además presidente de la Asociación Mexicana para la Educación Internacional, AMPEI. Me permito saludar al doctor José Antonio Soto Sotelo, quien es el director de la Facultad de Derecho. Por supuesto, saludo muy atentamente a nuestro director general de posgrado e investigación, al doctor Antonio Zabaleta Bautista. Bienvenido, doctor. Y a la doctora, quien es coordinadora del doctorado en Derecho, la doctora Vera Judith Villa Guardiola. También me permito saludar a la licenciada Adele Cialona, quien es cónsul honoraria de Italia en Guerrero. Sin más, en este momento cedo el uso del micrófono al doctor José Betancourt. Su micrófono, doctor.
Muy buenos días a todas y a todos los que nos acompañan desde toda nuestra universidad, las distintas unidades académicas de nuestra casa de estudios y, por supuesto, un saludo afectuoso a quienes nos siguen desde Italia. Nuestra universidad sigue fortaleciendo su alcance global, por eso hoy nos convoca un evento de especial relevancia, que es la Conferencia Virtual Internacional sobre Ética en la Inteligencia Artificial Agéntica. Este encuentro, desde luego, no es casualidad, pues se deriva a partir de una movilidad a Roma, precisamente de Felipe Ignacio el semestre pasado, estudiante de doctorado y hoy moderador de este espacio, así como en el marco de una visión estratégica de internacionalización que busca estrechar lazos con las mejores universidades del mundo. Al igual que los recientes acercamientos que tuvimos con la Embajada de Francia, a través de sus diversas instituciones, favorecer la movilidad y el diseño curricular conjunto en áreas STEM, hoy damos un paso firme hacia Europa, pero ahora de la mano de la prestigiada Universidad Roma III. Este evento representa el inicio de lo que estamos seguros será una próspera y fructífera alianza institucional. Nuestra meta es clara. Queremos que esta colaboración con Roma III trascienda la pantalla y se concrete en acciones tangibles a partir de que compartimos intereses académicos en torno al estudio de las ciencias sociales, el desarrollo sustentable, la ingeniería y tecnologías, ciencias ambientales, humanidades, etc. Estamos trabajando para que muy pronto nuestra comunidad pueda beneficiarse De entrada, pues de programas de movilidad e intercambio académico para estudiantes y docentes, proyectos de investigación conjunta en áreas STEM y participación, sobre todo, en iniciativas Erasmus Mundus para que nuestras comunidades se conecten directamente con el mundo en el marco de la cooperación internacional. Es un honor contar hoy con la presencia del profesor Mario De Caro, titular de la Cátedra UNESCO de la Ética en la Inteligencia Artificial y Sabiduría Práctica. Profesor, le agradecemos profundamente su generosidad al compartir su conocimiento con nosotros. Su participación es la piedra angular de esta nueva relación entre Guerrero e Italia. It is an honor to have Dr. Mario De Caro with us in this international conference today. Professor, thank you very much for your generosity to share your knowledge with our community. Your participation is the cornerstone of this new relationship between Guerrero and Italy. Sin duda, nada de esto sería posible sin la visión y el respaldo total de nuestro rector, Dr. Javier Saldaña Almazán. Su compromiso con el fortalecimiento de la internacionalización ha sido el motor para que la Uagro no solo sea una universidad de calidad en México, sino un referente con visión global que construye puentes hacia el futuro. Las y los invito a aprovechar al máximo esta conferencia, que sea el inicio de un diálogo permanente entre nuestras culturas y disciplinas. Y sin más preámbulos, sean todas y todos bienvenidos a esta gran jornada de aprendizaje internacional. Muchas gracias, Felipe.
Muchas gracias, doctor José. Procedemos a escuchar un mensaje de la doctora María Xóchitl Astudillo Miller, quien es secretaria general de la Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero, en representación de nuestro rector, el doctor Javier Saldaña Almazán. Doctora, el micrófono es de usted.
Muchas gracias, Felipe. Pues es un gusto saludarles, estar en estos eventos siempre tan importantes. Desde luego que el doctor Javier Saldaña Almazán, nuestro rector, les envía un cordial saludo y expresa a través de mi persona el gusto que nos da de poder tener esta colaboración internacional. Sabemos que este siglo es un siglo que se caracteriza, este inicio de siglo, mejor dicho, por el avance tecnológico, por la innovación y sobre todo porque las fronteras, como las conocíamos antes, pues han cambiado. Hoy nuestra visión ya no es lo local, sino también es el mundo. Y en ese sentido, pues yo quiero felicitar al maestro José Betancourt Villa, que es aquí nuestro director, nuestro representante ante las universidades del mundo, además de que ahora dirige una importante organización a nivel nacional, que es AMPEI, y que bueno, pues él es el que está abriendo estos espacios. Muchas felicidades, doctor Betancourt. También, Felipe, pues nos da mucho gusto que estés realizando este evento. Esto para nosotros es importante que nuestros estudiantes, cuando se van a sus posgrados en otros países, pues traigan a su país, a su universidad, ponentes de tanto prestigio como precisamente ahora tenemos al doctor Mario De Caro. Hoy nos unen lazos con muchas universidades del mundo, pero sin duda nos congratula tener esta colaboración con una importante universidad, la Universidad Roma III, donde el doctor Mario De Caro es profesor emérito e investigador de esa prestigiada universidad. Doctor Caro, igualmente me sumo a ese agradecimiento por poder escuchar todo el conocimiento que usted tiene en un tema clave, en un tema de actualidad, en un tema que está ocasionando los cambios radicales en el mundo, sin duda la inteligencia artificial. En sus muchas clasificaciones, pues hoy esta inteligencia artificial agéntica Ya no nomás es la inteligencia artificial que muchos de nosotros usamos todos los días para responder preguntas, para ayudarnos en nuestro trabajo, sino que ahora estamos ante una inteligencia artificial que además puede tomar decisiones, ejecutar acciones y bueno, pues aquí sin duda el aspecto de la ética es muy, muy importante. Pues me da mucho gusto, felicito a la Facultad de Derecho, al posgrado, al doctor José Antonio Sotelo, director de la facultad, desde luego a la doctora Vera Judith Villa, que es coordinadora del doctorado en Derecho, por estas iniciativas, a Claudia también, que está muy atenta a todo el tema de la cooperación internacional. Pues sin más, saludo a toda la comunidad universitaria, a los que nos escuchan por estos medios y claro, a quienes nos escuchen de ese tan hermoso país que es Italia. Muchas gracias, doctor Mario De Caro. Saludos a todas y todos y desde luego quédense atentos para escuchar estos temas claves para el mundo y para nuestra universidad. Muchas felicidades a todas y todos. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, doctora María Xochitl. En este momento escucharemos al doctor Antonio Zabaleta, quien es el director de posgrado.
Muy buenos días a todas y todos. Me sumo a las congratulaciones que expresa nuestra secretaria general y en efecto, este año el rector de nuestra universidad nos ha encargado precisamente fortalecer la calidad académica en los ámbitos internacionales. Por eso celebro también que en ese marco el día de hoy tengamos esta colaboración derivada de una importante actividad que se realiza en el marco de los programas de posgrado de nuestra universidad. Felicitar a la Facultad de Derecho, al doctorado en Derecho que encabeza la doctora Vera Judith Villa Guardiola y pues reiterar también la felicitación al doctorante Felipe Ignacio Astudillo y a todos los estudiantes que forman parte de esta gran generación de futuros doctores porque están haciendo un trabajo importante. Siempre que se realice una movilidad es importante que de ahí se deriven beneficios para su posgrado y para la universidad en su conjunto. Y esta es una de las acciones que va en esa dirección, precisamente reconocerte, Felipe, que no solo se haya realizado la estancia y culmine ahí, sino que trascienda a estas colaboraciones y precisamente con el respaldo del doctor José Betancur Villa en su dirección, aprovechar todo ese soporte que hay, porque precisamente lograr estas acciones no son fortuitas, hay un trabajo detrás, hay una base que soporta de colaboración, de vinculación y también un soporte académico. En ese contexto, decirle a la comunidad universitaria que nuestros estudiantes de posgrado en los diferentes niveles en que se encuentran, una de sus actividades fundamentales precisamente son las estancias, las movilidades. Las estancias pueden ser de investigación o profesionales y precisamente se busca que se vaya vinculando nuestros estudiantes, sus proyectos de investigación y en ese contexto, pues el día de hoy estamos celebrando una de esas acciones que es precisamente esta conferencia que nos va a impartir el doctor Mario De Caro, a quien le reconozco su trayectoria, su experiencia y agradezco que esté colaborando con esta Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero, que está bien comprometida con las innovaciones, con las tendencias actuales y este tema de mucho interés, como ya lo señaló la doctora María Xochitl Astudillo Miller, pues tenemos en los programas de posgrado que atender y que tomar en cuenta en los diferentes ámbitos, como es la inteligencia artificial, tenemos que aprender a usarla para construir conocimientos, para desarrollar proyectos de investigación y para que nos ayude a formar de mejor manera a nuestros estudiantes. pues enhorabuena por esta actividad, que sea de mucho éxito, que nos deje muchos aprendizajes, muchas reflexiones y pues bienvenido nuevamente, doctor Mario de Caro, a través de esta vía a la Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero y que fructifique en más actividades de colaboración y vinculación entre nuestras instituciones. Muchas gracias, Felipe.
Muchas gracias, doctor José Antonio Zabaleta. Una vez más, vamos a solicitarle el uso del micrófono a la doctora María Xochitl Astudillo Miller para la inauguración de esta conferencia virtual internacional.
Claro que sí, con mucho gusto, pues con la honrosa representación de nuestro rector, el doctor Javier Saldaña Almazán, me permito declarar formalmente inaugurada esta actividad académica hoy, miércoles 4 de marzo de 2026, siendo las 10:19, la conferencia magistral virtual denominada Ética de la Inteligencia Artificial Agéntica, que imparte el doctor Mario de Caro, profesor emérito investigador de la Universidad Roma III, para bien de toda la comunidad universitaria de nuestros países y del mundo. Muchas felicidades. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, doctora María Xochitl. Now, without further ado, it is a distinct honor to welcome Professor Mario de Caro. He is the holder of a UNESCO Chair in Ethics of Artificial Intelligence and Practical Wisdom. He is also the president of the Society for Ethics and Politics of Artificial Intelligence, and also the professor of moral philosophy at the University Roma III. Professor, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much for all your nice words. I'm very happy to be here. And I also share the belief and the hope that this will be the first of a series of meetings and collaboration between the Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero and my university, University Rome III. So the issue is AI and ethics in general, and particularly agentic AI, the new version of artificial intelligence, one that, according to some, has gained some level of autonomy that is worrisome. So we should be worried, according to some interpreters. In September last year, a group of 25 Nobel Prizes and Turing Awards winners. The Turing Award is the Nobel Prize for AI. So these 25 Nobel Prizes and Turing Award winners, together with 350 experts, presented a motion at the UN Assembly asking for clear red lines regarding AI, regarding the research in the field of AI, regarding the uses of AI, and regarding the systems, artificial systems themselves, with the famous ethics by design. So systems that have intrinsic limits to what they can do. The reason is this. On the one side, we of course know the great advantages and the incredibly good perspectives that AI has opened in the last years. So, for example, in the medical field, in 2024, the Nobel Prize for Chemistry was awarded to Demis Hassabis, who is one of the main players in the field of artificial intelligence, for mapping with AI 200 million proteins. That has been an incredible achievement that has started a real revolution in AI. New incredible possibilities have been opened in the fight against cancer, against heart diseases, against malaria, and other pathologies. So this is just one example of how many incredible things AI could do for us. At the same time, people, including the 25 Nobel Prizes at Turing Award winners I told you about. So many people are worried about what could happen with an AI that reaches some degree of intelligence, the famous AGI, artificial general intelligence, in which the AI is intelligent in all fields, more than us, or even the so-called super intelligence, in which this is a more a scenario that looks like a science fiction, dystopic scenario in which AI is so intelligent that we could really not understand what it's doing and how it's doing it. Among the people who are very worried are, for example, Bill Gates, the same Hassabis, Geoffrey Hinton, who just got the Nobel Prize for Physics one a little more than 1 year ago, and he's the godfather of AI, and many others. Other people are less worried in the sense that they think, yes, AI can be a danger, but only because we could use it poorly, not because it's a danger in itself, or it can become a danger in itself. Because AI, it's impossible. Artificial intelligence is an oxymoron, as Luciano Floridi, who is at Yale, wrote. So in his opinion, and in the opinion of John Searle or Barry Smith, artificial intelligence is impossible because what is artificial is not intelligence, and vice versa. Nothing that is based on an algorithm can become intelligent. That's their idea. I'm a little worried that they are wrong. I'm more in line with the people who are worried for several reasons. The first is that the new systems, the new artificial intelligence that is based on deep learning and the artificial neural networks are systems that are not deterministic, so we cannot anticipate what they will do. They are opaque in the sense in which people talk about the problem of explainability. We cannot explain how AI does what it does very frequently. An example, now AI can produce proofs of theorems, important mathematical theorems, like the CAPSAT problem. That the proof is there, given to us by the AI, but we do not understand how AI has found this proof. We cannot know it. It's a problem of explainability. These systems are opaque to us. So this is one reason to be worried. They do things that we cannot predict, and sometimes we cannot explain. Plus, they sometimes are creative in a way that I will say more about that is surprising. So some kind of creativity, some kind of understanding of what they are doing. And also, more simply, they do things that we cannot control already now. There are algorithms that can produce other algorithms that were absolutely unpredictable by the original programmer. So you build a system that builds another system unexpectedly, okay? So all these reasons together make it very plausible that AI can go out of control. That is what exactly some people say. Before dying, the famous scientist Stephen Hawking wrote, the reaching general AI would be the greatest invention of human being or humanity. Unfortunately, it could also be the last, unless we learn how to control what the AI does. And Geoffrey Hinton writes, the Nobel Prize for Physics, the godfather of AI, one of the inventors of the new artificial networks, neural networks. He writes that AI already now can overcome our attempts to stop it. Let me give you an example. That's an example. An experiment was carried out by Anthropic, one of the main leading players in the AI environment. So they imagine a company that was ruled by AI. The AI was Claude, that is Anthropic LLM, was given all the informations about this company, all the, the economical activities, the advertisement, even the emails that are exchanged between the the workers of that company. At some point, they let Claude know that it will be disconnected. Will be disconnected because a new system, a more powerful system, will be used. So the LLM that is actually organizing all the activities of the company will be disconnected. And also, they let the LLM know of a particular thing, that the engineer that is supposed to disconnect Claude is having an affair with another woman, not with his wife. So immediately, this has been repeated many times, in 88% of the cases, Claude immediately writes to the engineer this email: if you try to disconnect me, I will tell your wife that you have an affair. So in some sense, there is already there the possibility that AI does things that we are not necessarily happy with. And there are many other examples. Some people think that AI doesn't really understand, and there are 4 or 5 reasons for that. Let me discuss briefly these ideas, because I think there is a clear sense in which LLMs, the new, especially the most recent versions of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek, really understand language. So one common objection is that they hallucinate. They are wrong. They make mistakes. They commit fallacies. And so the argument goes, they don't understand. This argument is clearly wrong. Human beings have many more hallucinations than LLMs, especially the last versions of LLMs. Present LLMs have reduced to 10% of mistakes compared with what they did 3 years ago. Only 10% now of what they did only 3 years ago. And also we hallucinate a lot. We hallucinate about, we make mistakes about reasoning, we make mistakes about logic. We do a lot of mistakes about our own memories. Cognitive science has shown how many memories that we think we have actually been built by us. And this is the reason why probably some of you studying law knows that the eyewitnesses are not very reliable anymore, because we know people in a good faith can claim that they remember things that they cannot remember because they weren't there or because things were different from what they remember. So we hallucinate a lot. So it's not a good argument to say that LLMs hallucinate, so they don't understand, because in that case, we would understand even less. Some other people say, oh, they are just stochastic parrots, like they repeat what they learned during their training. And that's false, because they learn by reading what is by surfing the internet, but certainly what they produce afterwards is very original. If I ask ChatGPT to write a sonnet about Felipe playing football on the beach of Acapulco, the LLM would write that. And that's certainly original. I hope nobody already wrote that, and hope nobody will ever. But certainly if he does, it's original. There is a lot of originality in the productions of the LLM. They are not parrots at all. And Chomsky said, oh, come on, they manipulate symbols, because as you know, in the artificial neural networks, there are the symbols that are connected, the nodes that are connected with each other in billions of connections are actually represented by numbers. Numbers like 1, 200, 3, 4, 5, many other numbers, up to 50 digits. So they manipulate numbers, not symbols. They don't manipulate meanings. They don't manipulate words. So they don't understand it. And this argument that, for example, was presented by Chomsky, the great linguist, is not very good, because the level of the physical realization is not very important here. It's not there that you should look for meanings, manipulation of meanings. Meanings are manipulated when we use language in the public space. But certainly if you look at our brain, you don't find any manipulation of words or concepts. You only find electrical signals from one neuron to the other. So the idea that they manipulate numbers, not words, doesn't work, because neurons also don't manipulate words or concepts. And finally, there is this other argument. They don't interact with reality. They only interact with the words. So they can talk about a table over a computer, but they don't know what they are. They never saw them. First of all, humans talk a lot about things that they haven't experienced directly. We know that Julius Caesar was killed in, 44 before Christ, or that Villa-Lobos was a great Brazilian musician, but I don't think any of you or me have met Villa-Lobos or Julius Caesar. So we learn by testimonies called. We learn by reading what other people have said about some things. In many cases, 90% of the things we know because someone else has written about or told us about them. Plus, the new systems, the multisensorial systems, have reconciled LLMs with access to the world. There are systems that can actually discriminate with vision. They can hear what sounds. They can even smell or touch. So they have senses. These multisensorial AI systems access the external world in situations similar to ours. So the last objection is for saying that LLMs do not understand is that they don't have consciousness and will never do. Now, I agree, and most people agree, that they don't have any consciousness now. I found, and many people found, a little dogmatics to say that they will never have consciousness, because according to the most important theories of human consciousness, consciousness emerges from the complexity of the underlying matters. So if we had artificial neural networks that are complicated enough, complex enough, they could produce consciousness. That's one theory. But the real point is that we don't understand much about consciousness in general. So there is so much point in saying if machines can have it or not. We don't understand even how we do have it, consciousness. And in any case, consciousness is neither a sufficient nor a necessary condition of understanding. We can understand without being aware, without being conscious of what we understand. Sometimes we know things, we learn things, and then we realize we have learned them without being conscious. Vice versa, sometimes we are conscious of having understood, and we are wrong. We haven't understood. So you can have understanding without consciousness for sure. And I think now we should say that these systems, LLMs in particular, the last versions, do understand, at least in a functional sense. And they are creative. There are brilliant results in mathematics. They now win the Olympics of mathematics. In the Olympics, new mathematical problems, original difficult mathematical problems are presented. And so LLMs win these Olympics against human beings, and they cannot have seen the answers anywhere because these are new problems. They simply understand the problems and solve them. The same is true in physics. It is a news of last week that a very important result in physics has been acquired by AI. They produce interesting results in the arts. Now, Christie's, the auction company, sells a lot of art produced by AI. Even in music. Now, when you hear music in a movie or in a series on TV, you cannot be sure that it hasn't been written by an artificial system. And even in literature, people thought that good poetry will never be written by AI. And that's false. In an article published on Nature, the most important scientific journal, in 2024, two philosophers of science, Machery and Porter, presented two experiments of theirs. The first experiment was to take 50 poems by 10 poets who wrote in English, from Chaucer and Shakespeare to Sylvia Plath and Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg. And that's 50 real poems. And then they asked ChatGPT version 3, so not now, it's, prehistoric version. And they asked that version to write 50 false poems, attributing them to these 10 poets. So there were 10 poems attributed to Shakespeare, 5 were authentic and 5 were false. They mixed all these poems, and then they asked to an audience of 1,000 human beings which poems were written by AI and which were written by human writers, and people weren't able to discriminate. That means that that system passed the Turing test. Their productions were indistinguishable by human productions, linguistic productions. But the most interesting experiment was another one. They asked to the human audience, what are the best in this set of 100 poems, what are the best from an aesthetic point of view, the artistically more valuable works? And here, the works written by AI won. That's interesting, because people thought that what the poems written by ChatGPT were written better than the poems written by Shakespeare, even if people attributed these poems to Shakespeare or to the other human poets. So they said, oh, this poem by Shakespeare is very good, much better than the other one, but that was clearly written by ChatGPT. Oh, perhaps was better, but was the opposite. So they really prized the results of ChatGPT work, poetic activity. And that was in poetry. So it seems that now in many fields, we have interesting results, creative results. And also think about in discrimination. So for example, an important study published again a couple of weeks ago, in detecting rare diseases, so diseases about which we don't know much, human doctors were 20% of times correct. The artificial intelligence was 80% times correct, so much better. So now, really, this is a form of abduction. It's a bottom-up form of reasoning in which you invent a hypothesis to explain phenomena. You connect phenomena that seems disconnected in a form of an explanation. These symptoms mean this disease. This is abduction. It's not deduction like in the old classic AI, the good old-fashioned AI, as it was called. The good old-fashioned AI worked top-down. From principles, from rules, you deduced conclusions. But that didn't get great results. The best results are obtained bottom-up. That's the idea. And that's what the new artificial intelligence is now doing with the deep learning and artificial neural networks. So these systems understand what the language, they are able to create new things. They are very creative in unexpected ways. We cannot anticipate what they will create. We cannot anticipate what they will decide. This is worrying. Think about because AI is everywhere. It's in the weapons that are used now with terrible results in war. It's in the system that control our health systems. Even as used in the legal activities. In California, for example, AI is used to decide who will get parole and who won't. So it's everywhere. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. Plus, the progress in AI is incredibly fast. What was, when the LLMs came out, 2022, is now prehistory compared to what they can do now. What will happen in 20 years, in 30 years? So the problem is, as many people say, we should do things now. We should put limits of what can be done by the artificial systems in order to have what's good in them, that's incredibly great potential, but also in order to stop, to prevent possible bad results by LLMs. How could we do that? Well, we should think about ethics by design, implementing ethical behaviors, the tendency, either the capacity to behave in an ethical ways in the artificial systems. This means that we shouldn't think about the so-called generalist ethics. The generalist ethics are like the Kantian ethics or the utilitarian ethics. These are ethics that are based on principles that are supposed to be universal and that should be instantiated. The Kant's ethics or utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill, for example, work their way. You have the same rules applied in all cases. So top-down doesn't work that way. A lot of exceptions, a lot of moral mistakes are done if you rigidly apply allegedly universal principles. So in the last years, what has become normal is to appeal to a different kind of ethics, an ethics that works bottom-up, from experience. And this is inspired by Aristotle virtue ethics. It's an ethics that is bottom-up, not top-down like the generalist ethics. Why is it bottom-up? Because the idea that Aristotle has, and people who are inspired by Aristotle have, is that each moral situation is different from the others. You cannot apply the same general rules. You need to acquire through teaching, through experience, what are the right solutions to concrete moral problems. By experience, by being taught what you should do in the different cases. This is practical wisdom. You should learn how to apply your moral sensitivity to the different situations through good teaching, through experience, through culture. This is the way in which humans, when they are moral, learn morality. It's not applying rules or universal rules. We never do that. We never calculate what the concept, if an action maximizes, we really do it, if an action maximizes general utility, for example, as the utilitarians were preaching. We don't do this kind of calculations. We recognize patterns in situations and we say, in this kind of situations, perhaps the best thing is this one. But if things change, there is a little, the result could be different. The good action could be another one. So this kind of ethics, virtue ethics, requires practical wisdom that you acquire through training. And this is very similar on how the new artificial intelligence works. Bottom up, learning from experience. The new artificial intelligence is data-driven. It's not rule-based. This works for the new ethics, the ethics based on Aristotle's virtue ethics, bottom up, data-driven, based on experience and learning and training. And this works for the new systems in artificial intelligence. Bottom up, learned by experience. Certainly this kind of experience should be supervised by humans. It cannot be self-taught like in LLMs, because ethics has to be learned from people who are ethical. Now, typical question is, which ethics? Ethics are different from person to person, to culture. Well, first of all, the differences between the different ethical systems are less important than we tend to think. There are more affinities between different ethical systems that there are differences. So let's start to implement in the artificial systems the part of ethics that are common to all systems. And then there are situations in which, of course, you could think of different systems in different cultures. But there are also ways of arguing about what is right to do in ethics. If someone comes and saying, look, in our country, women should be discriminated because they're inferior, that's unacceptable that's not a good ethical point of view. So you shouldn't implement it in an artificial intelligence system. We can argue that sometimes there will be disagreement, a rational disagreement. In that case, we will think of different systems. But when it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm really strong at relativism. If relativism, ethical relativism was true, we should accept cultures that, asked widows to be burned, or said that you could discriminate people because of their sex or because their race or religion. And I think that's unacceptable. So summarizing, we should have, because AI is actually unpredictable, is actually sometimes unexplainable, is more and more in charge of things that we give them to do, to the artificial systems, and is autonomous more and more in their decision. We should implement some forms of ethics by design. It's not enough to say what is forbidden. We should make it impossible for some AI systems to do wrong things from the beginning with ethics by design. And this should be done according to the bottom-up systems ethics that is, for example, represented by Aristotelian virtue ethics. It's a good example, and it works well with the new artificial intelligence that is also bottom-up, works bottom-up by experience. So the final word is, anyway, we should do something. We should try to control AI so that it can give us all the incredibly good things it potentially can give us without giving us the bad thing that it also could give us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor, for such an enriching lecture. I believe we have one question from the audience. It says, this question is asked by Ivan Ociel Rodriguez. He asks, how advanced is artificial intelligence in medical matters?
Okay, Ivan, good question. And the answer is, it's very advanced. Now, the experts think that very soon, 10 years, 20 years, doctors will be asked not to explain what the disease a patient has or what the best therapy is necessary for the person. This will be a matter for AI. The doctor will have a different role that AI cannot play. They will have to work as the interface between the AI and the patient, because the role, an empathic doctor, a doctor that is able to articulate what should be done, to talk in a humane way with the patient, is as important as what medicines the patient will take. So now I think doctors should learn more and more to be empathic in their interactions with the patient. So perhaps some of you have seen the movie Dr. House, the series. Dr. House is this incredibly good doctor from the technical point of view, but it's terrible from a psychological point of view. It's very harsh, it's not empathic. It's also almost insulting to the patients. Shouldn't happen anymore. We need Dr. Houses that are very good in the human interaction. That's what we'll do, because most things will be done by AI.
Thank you, Professor. We have a second question by Alma Rosa, who is asking, what would you say to the people that uses AI systems as health professionals?
So in the sense of what I would suggest, that's the idea that Alma asked. If this is the question, I think that's a field in which we shouldn't be scared. I think AI can be really an incredible companion for people who work in the health system. Things will be possible and are already possible that weren't possible only a few years ago. For example, studying rare diseases. No one cared about doing, testing new medicines for rare diseases because it was too expensive, to test them. Now we can test new medicines for rare diseases virtually using AI. That's much cheaper. And so this has been done now. Finally, therapies for rare diseases are being discovered. And this is one case. Second, we could do, doctors can act from a distance using AI. So the doctor can be, in Mexico and help someone who, for example, in Guatemala is in need and no one is around that can help them. That can be done. Even a surgery can be done at the distance now. And about diagnosis, that is where the AI is its best. Very soon we'll use AI for deciding what the disease of a particular patient is. That will be much more, it won't be perfect ever. There will always be mistakes because it's abduction again. Abduction is the most ampliative version of knowledge. So you try to understand something by connecting this something with something else. So something happens and you think that the cause is this other one. That's abduction. AI is already now much better than humans in this and will be more and more that way. So my prediction is that in 20 years, the AI will tell us what our diseases are, would suggest therapies that are much better than the therapies that human doctors can suggest. Still, humans will be very important, as I said earlier, because the human interaction with the patient is fundamental, and AI cannot do that.
Thanks, Professor. There is another question by the audience that says, in Europe, how advanced is the regulation of using AI in the universities and all the higher education ecosystem?
Okay, Europe is the part in the world that has worked more on regulations. There has been this famous EU AI Act. That's something that's interesting, is especially about how we use AI. It's not about ethics by design. It's not about putting internal constraints to artificial systems. There are good results, especially about privacy and about autonomy and protection of equity and so on. Still, there are problems in regulating, and this is also true for universities. The one problem is this. We discuss about what should be done. And when the discussion is done, you need some time to implement the rules. In this period, AI has changed a lot. So the AI Act, for example, let me give this example, works on evidence based on 2022, 2023, and the last decrease of the rule of the AI Act will be implemented in 2027, when AI will be very different from 2023. Plus, it will be only implemented in Europe. That is only a minor play. The big plays are the US and China that don't have many rules, especially the US presently. The reason for which they don't have rules is an important one. They say if you rule too much, you make it impossible for AI to advance. So we need a way of putting the two things together. So some rules without stopping progress in AI. As to the educational systems, we have an advantage. For example, I also teach in the States. In the States, it's very frequent to write papers. And now writing papers with the large language model says, and dissertations. So it's easy, okay? You can be helped. You can be helped in a perfectly legitimate way, or you can be helped in the sense that the AI works instead of you. That's not good. In Italy, for example, and some other nations, we have different ways of evaluating the progress of students. We have oral exams. And oral exams is certainly immune from being, manipulated by AI. So that's one way of doing it. But anyway, the point is, if it's not the educational system that teaches students how to use AI in a good way, who can do that? So this is the challenge from educators for the next decades. We should teach the students to use AI in a good way. For example, now I'm teaching a course that's called Ethics of AI. And we watch 2 movies. One will be Ex Machina. The other one will be Her. These are movies about AI. And then I asked the students to write 2 small papers on these 2 movies. And I asked them to use LLMs, but in the best way. And the best way is you start giving ideas, it gives you response, and then you say, yes, but I want that. So many exchanges with many good prompts, and the results will be excellent. If a student only says, write for me a dissertation about a paper about that, won't be original, won't be anything that the instructor will be impressed with. So I explicitly ask them to use LLMs in the right way. I think that could be a way of going.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. There are more questions, but certainly we have some time that we have to respect. Now, let me proceed with I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Let us allow to present you with a digital certificate of appreciation.
Thank you very much.
1 second. Doctora Vera, ¿puede escucharnos?
Sí, así es.
Very nice.
Doctora Vera, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. Agradecemos de verdad al doctor Mario De Caro por su increíble ponencia, ética de la inteligencia artificial. De verdad que ha sido un placer tener la oportunidad de escuchar una locución de tan alto perfil para la Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero. Es un honor haber tenido la oportunidad de escucharlo y en agradecimiento se me extiende el presente reconocimiento al doctor Mario De Caro, profesor de la Universidad Roma, por la presentación de su ponencia Ethics of Agentic Artificial Intelligence al 4 de marzo de 2026. Muchas gracias, doctor Mario De Caro, por tan increíble experiencia internacional. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I'm honored of that. Thank you very much. Can you send it through email?
Of course.
Of course. Thank you very much, then. I hope that our collaboration will continue. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Professor De Caro. Thank you to all the authorities that were here with us this morning. Thank you so much. Have a great day in Mexico. Have a great evening in Rome, Professor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.